Welcome, dreamers. If you're here, maybe you're tired. Maybe your mind has been spinning for too long. Tonight, let these words be your silence. Let them hold you gently and remind you are allowed to rest. Take a deep breath and let's drift. I once heard that the lonely share the same hiding place, and there I learned that forcing the search only shuts the door tighter. Another star in a universe with no visible edge, where we're wrapped in this sensation of cold. But it's not. Skin to pit clings to the soul, freezing feelings, wrapping thoughts that never fully take shape. You might call it blurry, but not quite disturbing. I've always been good at enduring the cold. I wonder if that's connected somehow. Body of a warrior, mind of a king, heart of a poet. Who would have thought such traits would sketch my life? There must be more like me, souls drawing parallel paths that might one day intersect. But we'll see whose life bends just enough to meet the other. With time, that hope feels like the mist on a lake, a mirage in a desert that fades before you can touch it. No matter how warm the sun, not all can be comforted. Some corners of the soul live in constant winter, places of secrets where the light comes as flickers of memory, and the shadows are scars. And here I believe I'm just a star among many, perhaps needing to find a new system. But we all know what happens when two stars collide, don't we? So I prefer just to be. Let my warmth not seek to comfort, but simply stay alive, to feed the flames of the fire meant to consume. Maybe my light is the beacon of a distant world, something fleeting that though visible remains out of reach. And let my glow not be for finding, but proof that even the fleeting can be eternal. A star that burns without seeking. Souls that carry the fate of walking alone, where the chance of meeting is almost none. The weight of quiet roads. There are paths I walk that never echo, silent trails where my steps leave no sound behind. I do not search for company, but sometimes I wonder if anyone else walks beside me, just far enough not to be seen. The world tells stories of souls meant to meet, but mine was written between commas and ellipses, not endings, never endings. I carry a softness I never asked for, one that bends but never breaks, quiet as dusk, firm as stone. And I've learned that not every traveler needs a destination. Some of us just move so the silence doesn't grow too heavy. In the quiet spaces between heartbeats, memories whisper like leaves in an autumn breeze. I've scattered pieces of myself across landscapes I'll never revisit, each fragment carried on the wind to distant shores. There's a bittersweet comfort in knowing that parts of me linger where my feet have never trod. Echoes of dreams and whispered hopes dancing on currents unseen. The nostalgia wraps around me like a familiar shawl, its weight both comforting and constraining. I trace the outlines of faces half remembered, their features soft by the mist of time. These ghosts of moments past don't haunt me anymore. They simply exist, suspended in the amber of memory. I've learned to carry these fragments gently, no longer seeking to piece them back together into a perfect whole. The cracks and missing pieces tell their own story, one of growth and change, of letting go and moving forward. The sharp edges have been worn smooth by the passage of years, no longer cutting when I reach out to touch them. In the half-light between dusk and dawn, when the world holds its breath and time seems to pause, I find myself in a room where silence reigns. Not the oppressive silence of loneliness, but the gentle quiet of acceptance. Here, in this space between heartbeats, I've made peace with the echoes of what was and what could have been.
The rooms I don't return to there are rooms in me that no longer echo spaces. I tiptoe through with a heart too loud for the silence. I've learned to dust the corners without disturbing the ghosts. Some memories deserve to sleep, even if they still breathe under the floorboards. Not every part of me wants to be visited. Some just want the door closed and the light off forever. To those who drift, to the ones who drift like leaves on rivers they didn't choose, whose roots were cut before they grew, I see you. You carry stories without chapters, names that no one ever called. You live between sighs, between the pause and the plea. And yet, your presence is poetry. You are the breath before a word, the warmth in something wordless. Things I never said there are whole lives built from things. I never said conversations I rehearsed but never let bloom. Sometimes silence was safety. Sometimes it was surrender. but always it was mine, and I carried it like a shield of glass. Now I let the silence break gently, one word at a time, and I pray the cracks let in light. The fog remembers things I've forgotten. It holds the shape of laughter from people I no longer reach, keeps it soft and unfinished, like a song paused mid-breath. I've stopped chasing clarity. There's comfort in not knowing all the details, only that it once felt real. When fire doesn't burn, not every fire is wild. Some burn quiet, like old anger or waiting too long. It doesn't crackle or rage, just glows in the bones, warming nothing, never dying. And maybe that's my kind of fire. Not to consume, not to destroy, just to prove I'm still alive. I don't leave footprints here. There are places I walk here, even my silence disappears. Trails so quiet that memory forgets to follow. Not because I'm light, but because I've learned to carry my weight without making noise. Some journeys are meant to be invisible. Some souls were born move like whispers. The softness I didn't ask for, I carry a softness that never asked for permission. It bloomed in the dark, beneath things I couldn't name. People think softness is weakness, but they've never had to hold back a storm with a whisper. I bend where others break, and though I crack, my silence still stands. Stars that don't belong to skies. I've seen stars that never made it to the sky. They flicker in people who don't know they shine. They glow behind quiet eyes, in hands that reach out but never ask for anything. And I wonder how many constellations we've lost by not looking closely enough. What I hide from the light, I keep certain thoughts where light can't reach, not because they're shameful, but because they bruise too easily in darkness. They rest. They don't have to explain why they never became actions. Not everything needs healing. Some things just need to be left untouched. The cold that waits. It's not the kind of cold you run from, it waits. It's not the kind of cold you run from, it waits. Patient as a winter that never ended. It seeps into your stillness, rests inside your pauses, sleeps under your sighs. Some people carry fire. I carry frost, and both of us burn in our own way. When silence becomes water, sometimes silence flows like water in my chest, not heavy, but enough to drown the words. I try to speak, but the current pulls them back, turns meaning into murmur. And yet, in that flood, I find something close to peace. The thought that stayed among the thousands that came and went. There was one thought that stayed. It wasn't loud, just consistent, like a shadow in morning light. I don't know what it meant, but it never left, and maybe that's enough. Between then and now, there's a version of me stuck between then and now, quite healed, not quite breaking. He watches from mirrors, smiles too late, and answers questions no one asked. I let him stay. We share the silence. He knows the way I think. The glow I don't show, there's a glow in me I rarely show, not because it's small, but because the world squints at anything too quiet. It's not meant to lead. It doesn't need applause. It just stays lit for whoever chooses to see. Things the mirror forgot. The mirror remembers what I try to forget, the weight in my shoulders, the time in my eyes. But it forgets how I've survived, what I held back, who I chose not to become. So I only look briefly, not to see myself, but to remind the glass I'm still here. The places I fade, some places don't ask you to arrive. They wait for your silence and know when you're fading. I return to them without footsteps, only presence. like dusk creeping into the edge of light. They don't hold me, but they remember me gently, as if I were never loud to begin with. Still, I stay. I've sat beside doors that never opened, just to see if silence would answer. I've lit matches not to see, but to feel something flicker. Still, I stay because leaving never promised peace. Where my name doesn't echo, never promised peace. Where my name never echoes back and I've learned to be okay with that. Sometimes the world is too wide for recognition, too quiet to remember, but I don't need to be known to be real. Some lights shine only once. Dreams that outlived me, some dreams kept breathing long after I stopped chasing them. They hover in forgotten rooms, beneath beds, in notebooks I never opened again. And yet they wait patient as grief, still whispering my name. The time that waited, not all time moves forward. Some waits, hovering between sighs and what if. It doesn't tick or ring, just hums behind the ribs, soft as unfinished apologies. That's the kind of time I live in. Not late, just uncertain. What my hands remember what my mind forgot. The way a goodbye felt, the shape of loss in the air. They tremble sometimes, not from fear, but from repetition. Some grief settles in gestures, not words. Stars that kept their distance. Not all stars want to be found. Some hide because the seeking burns. They pulse in corners of sky no telescope dares trace, just waiting to be left alone. And still, they shine, even in hiding. The door without a handle. There's a door in me with no handle, just the memory of knocking. No one opens it, not even me. But I stand there, often, not in hope, but in reverence for what never happened. Ashes that still breathe some fire's end, but the ash keeps a heartbeat. It's faint, but real. Like memories smoldering without flame, I carry that ash. It stains, but it warms too. How the ocean held me. The ocean never asked me to swim, just to let go. So I floated, not to escape, but to be held by something bigger than pain, and it worked. For a while, I forgot to sink. The sleep that wouldn't come some nights, feel too awake for dreaming. I lay there, not tired, but emptied. Sleep hovers like a ghost outside the window, too polite to enter. The shape of leaving doesn't always look like footsteps. Sometimes it's quieter, like replying slower each time, or not replying at all, just drifting into elsewhere without a map. The hardest part is that I still care. I just care from a distance. What mirrors refuse to show, mirrors don't show how long I've waited. They don't reflect patience or what I chose not to say. They show survival, but never the cost. And maybe that's mercy. Still, I glance, just to see what's left. The glow beneath the grief. Even in grief, something glows. Not bright, but steady, like a candle untouched by wind. It's the part of me that still believes some endings are beginnings in disguise. The silence I became, I didn't choose silence. I became it slowly, like stone learning to forget it was soft. And now, I don't shout. I just remain still, heavy, but listening. Night knows my name. Some nights, I lie awake, not from restlessness, but because the silence feels like a conversation I forgot to finish. There's comfort in knowing the stars don't expect anything from me. They simply shine, even when no one is watching. And maybe that's all I've ever wanted, to exist without needing to be seen. I've whispered enough into the dark to know it remembers, and still, it always welcomes me back. The rooms we don't open. There are rooms inside me I no longer enter, not because they frighten me, but because I've learned peace doesn't live in reopening old doors. The air there is heavy with things that used to matter, echoes of questions I no longer need answered. I visit in memory, never in body. Some stories don't need closure, they just need distance. Sand a kind goodbye whispered to yourself. Echoes of almost. We almost met in the right moment, but life rarely waits for timing. Now I carry the shape of you in places no one sees. Not regret, just the outline of what could have been etched in soft places between breath and thought. Some feelings don't disappear, they settle. And I think of you when the wind feels familiar, not because I miss you, but because you once felt like home. Gravity of stillness. I've stopped searching for motion to feel alive. There's a gravity in stillness that holds me better than movement ever did. The world doesn't slow down, but I've learned I can end in the pause. I hear myself more clearly. Not everything needs to be chased. Some things find you only when you stop running. Where the light breaks, soft morning doesn't rush into the sky. It unfolds slow and gentle, like someone learning how to forgive. I've learned to wake like that too. Not eager, not empty, just present enough to feel the light. Some wounds don't close, but they stop bleeding when the sun touches them, and that's enough. Things the moon understands. The moon never asks why I'm awake. It just shows up, gentle and patient, like an old friend who knows not to ask questions. There are things I've never said aloud, but the night hears them anyway. Silence has always been the best listener. Maybe that's why I love the moon. It keeps secrets better than I do, and never leaves before I'm ready. To rest without answers. There are nights I don't seek clarity. I just want to breathe without unraveling everything. Not every thought needs to become a solution. I'm learning to rest in confusion, to lie beside the unknown and trust it won't consume me. Peace isn't found in knowing, but in surrendering the need to know. And some nights, that's the only way I sleep. The shore I never reach. You are the shore I swim toward, but never arrive at. And somehow, I've learned to love the ocean in between. The longing became a rhythm, a heartbeat made of distance, not a wound, just a tide. And in that space between us, I found myself floating, no longer needing to land. After the fire, I burned for things I never named. Now the smoke curls gently around a life I no longer chase. There's something sacred in what's left, in the ashes that no longer scream. Quiet doesn't mean empty, it means healed. And though the fire is out, its warmth lingers in my bones, reminding me I survived. In the quiet of goodbye, goodbyes don't always echo loudly. Some slip through like morning fog, quiet and certain. I've stopped fighting the drift. Some people were never meant to stay, only to remind me what presence feels like. In the quiet after they're gone, I find pieces of myself I didn't know I'd misplaced. The long way home, I take the long way home, not for the view, but because I like the silence between turns. Each step whispers something old, a memory, a regret, a truth I wasn't ready for back then. Eventually, I arrive, not because I rushed, but because I let the journey shape me. When the heart settles, not every feeling explodes. Some arrive like snow, quiet, steady, irreversible. I used to fear love that didn't burn. Now I find beauty in the warmth that stays long after the flame fades. A settled heart doesn't mean numbness. It means the storm has passed and left room for stillness. Empty spaces, gentle echoes. There's an echo in the empty spaces I once filled. It doesn't haunt, it hums softly, like a memory that forgave me. I no longer rush to replace the silence. I sit with it. I listen, and in its rhythm, I hear who I've become without needing to explain why. To be without apology, I spent years trying to shrink myself to fit into rooms I was never built for. Now, I take up space quietly, but fully. I am soft and solid. I bend, but I hold. I feel, and I stay. To exist without apology is a kind of freedom I never knew I needed. Clouds that never rain, some feelings hover like clouds heavy, full of something, but never falling. They follow me, not to drown me, but to remind me what I carry. And though they never rain, I've learned to walk beneath them with open hands. The weight of kindness. Kindness has a weight, and I've often given more of it than I had to spare. Still, I do not regret the softness. It shaped me in ways no shield ever could. Being gentle in a world that burns is not weakness, it's resilience, wearing a quiet smile. What I never wrote, there are words I never wrote because they felt too alive, like breathing things that could hurt again, but they lived inside me anyway, growing into shapes that only I could understand. Now I know. Some stories don't need to be shared to be real. Familiar strangers, I pass versions of myself in dreams, strangers wearing my face but not my name. Each one carries something I once let go, and they nod like old friends who never left. Maybe we're all just fragments, gathering in the night to remember who we were. Seasons without end. There are winters that don't leave, even when the calendar says spring. But I've stopped fighting the frost. I've learned to grow in the cold, to find warmth in my own breath and color in the gray. Some seasons never end, but you learn how to walk through them anyway. The light I carry, I used to think I needed someone to notice the light in me to make it real. Now I shine quietly, not for show, but because it's who I am. And maybe, just maybe, someone will see it from afar and glow a little brighter too.
The walls of this inner sanctuary hold the weight of unspoken words, dreams deferred, and paths not taken. Yet in that weight, there is a strange lightness. I've learned that not every thought needs voice, not every emotion demands expression. Some feelings are meant to be felt once, acknowledged, and then released like dandelion seeds on the wind, carried away to unknown destinations. As I sit in this room that never echoes, I realize that loneliness has transformed into solitude. The difference is subtle but profound. Loneliness aches, solitude breathes. In this space, I am not waiting for someone to fill the silence or complete me. I am whole, even in my incompleteness. The calm that settles over me is not the absence of storms, but the I at their center. It's a peace hard won through battles with myself, through nights of doubt and days of questioning. This tranquility is not fragile. It's a bedrock formed under pressure, able to withstand the tremors of life's uncertainties. I've whispered so many secrets to the passing breeze that sometimes I imagine the wind knows me better than I know myself. It carries my name to places I'll never see, calling me home to a self I'm still discovering. There's freedom in this thought, that parts of me are wandering, exploring, living beyond the confines of my physical form. As night folds into itself, wrapping the world in shadows and starlight, I find myself thinking of all the lives I might have lived, all the paths I didn't take. But there's no regret in these musings, only a gentle curiosity. Each choice, each moment has led me here, to this point of quiet acceptance. I do not crave permanence anymore. I've learned that life is a series of moments, strung together like pearls on a necklace. Some shine brightly, catching the light and demanding attention. Others are subtle, their beauty revealed only in certain angles. But each has its place, its purpose in the greater whole. Sometimes, When the world is hushed and still, I close my eyes and imagine myself as part of the landscape, a tree bending in the wind, a stone smoothed by rushing water, a cloud drifting across an endless sky. In these moments, the boundaries between self and world blur, and I feel connected to something vast and timeless. The fog of memory rolls in, softening the harsh lines of reality. I remember faces the way mist remembers mountains, not clearly, but faithfully. There's no need to chase clarity anymore. I've learned to embrace the blur, finding comfort in its soft edges and forgiving nature. It's a shield against the sharp pangs of what might have been, allowing me to look back without being cut by regret. In this gentle haze, I carry my fragments. They don't need fixing or explaining. They simply need space to exist, to be acknowledged without judgment. Each shard reflects a different facet of who I was, who I am, who I might become. Together, they form a mosaic of experience, beautiful in its imperfection. As dawn breaks, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, I find myself in that space between the tick and the tock, where time forgets its relentless march. Here, in this moment of suspended animation, I feel most alive. The past no longer weighs heavily on my shoulders, and the future hasn't yet solidified into expectations and obligations. I've learned to live in this in-between, finding richness in the pauses between breaths, in the spaces between words. It's here that I feel most connected to myself and to the world around me. The silence listens, holding space for all that I am and all that I'm becoming. Some sounds were meant to be spoken once and disappear, like a match striking against darkness. They illuminate for a brief, brilliant moment, reminding us of our presence in the vastness of existence. I've learned to appreciate these fleeting flashes, no longer grasping to hold on to them beyond their natural lifespan. As the day unfolds, I carry this inner stillness with me. It's a wellspring of calm amidst the chaos of daily life, a reminder that beneath the surface currents of thoughts and emotions, there's a deeper, more constant self. This core remains unshaken by the storms that pass overhead. I've come to understand that acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It's not about giving up or settling for less. Rather, it's about embracing life in all its messy, imperfect glory. It's about finding beauty in the broken places, strength in vulnerability, and peace in the midst of uncertainty. As evening approaches once more, I find myself back in that room where words go quiet before they return. But now, the silence feels different. It's rich with possibility, pregnant with potential. I no longer fear the echoes of what was or what might be. Instead, I welcome them as old friends, each one a testament to a life fully lived. The wind whispers my name again, calling me to adventures yet unknown, and I listen, ready to scatter more of myself across the landscape of experience. For I am not bound by the limits of flesh and bone, but free to wander on the currents of imagination and memory. In this moment, suspended between heartbeats, I am both lost and found, alone and connected, still and in motion. And in this paradox, I find my truest self, a being of infinite possibility, forever changing, yet always, essentially, me. You've made it here. You listened. You've breathed. And maybe, just maybe, you felt a little less alone in the quiet. Let this calm stay with you. Let the night wrap around you like a promise. And remember, even the fleeting can be eternal. If these words helped you drift tonight, stay close. There's more waiting for you in the next glow. Good night.